Well, I hope you can remember right back at the start of this term, I asked you what questions you really wanted to find out the answers to. And more than anything else, you guys wanted to know whether God was really there or not. Apparently loads of you believe in God and some of you don't, but loads of you are not sure either way. Well, I asked you where we could start looking for evidence that God might be there, and you gave me some fantastic ideas. You spoke about miracles, healings, a visit from God, archaeological evidence, and loads of other things where we might start looking to find out if God is really there, and so we can be sure about it. And so far this term, we've looked at a couple of those. We've thought about near-death experiences. Do you remember the story of Ian McCormack, the guy who said that he was dead for a full 15 minutes and came alive again? He was clinically dead and put in the morgue for 15 minutes before he came round. I wonder what you made of that story. We've also looked at answers to prayer, and we thought about prayer last time, didn't we? And I asked you whether it proves anything about God, whether you've had your prayers answered or not. And do you know what? I think the best thing that we can say about what we've looked at so far in terms of evidence for God is this, is that it's compelling but not conclusive. In other words, you may have been convinced a little bit more that God might be there, but we certainly haven't proved it, have we? And there's loads of you who might still be sceptical that there is a God. Well, one of the things that you suggested might help you believe that God is real, for sure, is an experience of him speaking to you. And today I just want to share a little bit about my experience of that and see what you make of it. I believe that God speaks to me quite regularly, actually, but one time where I believe God spoke to me in a way that has changed the course of my life was years ago when I was about 18. And I was just finishing my A-levels and I wasn't doing particularly well. I'd been quite lazy on the course, actually, because I was more and more interested in youth work. But at that time, I wanted to be an architect. I was really good at maths and I was really good at art. If you can believe it, I wanted a career in architecture. I was about to go to university for 8 years to study architecture and become an architect. Well, God spoke to me during the course of a week, I believe, that changed the course of my life. And I wouldn't be here today if he hadn't done that. Here's how it happened. I was at something called an Alpha course. An Alpha course, if you hadn't heard of it before, is a course for people who want to find out more about Christianity. And I was at this Alpha course. I was already a Christian, but I just wanted to go over the basics and learn about it all over again. And at this one Alpha course, there was this passage that was being talked about in the Bible. And here's what it said. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Well, for some reason that evening, as that part of the Bible was taught about, I started thinking about the direction my life was taking. I started thinking about whether I really wanted to be an architect and go to university for 8 years. I wondered if that's what God really wanted me to do with my life. And I started thinking about being a youth worker as well. I wondered, maybe God might want me to go to Bible college and study theology and prepare to be a youth worker as well and get qualified for that. That was the first time I started seriously thinking about that. And I prayed to God. I said, God, maybe I'll think about this. I'm not really sure, but I know if you want me to think about it more, then you can just get me to think about it more. So I left it at that. Anyway, that Sunday morning, I was in my own youth group. There was 20 of us, and the leader of the session that morning gave us a Bible verse each to read out. There was 20 of us, there was 20 Bible verses. And guess what? The verse that got handed out to me to read was this one again in Matthew 5. Coincidence, maybe, but it made me think again. I wonder, is God telling me to think about Bible college again? Is God thinking, I want Dave to be a youth worker? Is God trying to tell me something? Well, I prayed again that day, and I prayed to God and I said, God, if you do want me to think about Bible college seriously, then you've got to do it one more. You've got to do it one more time this week. Trip me up again this week with this Bible verse again, and then maybe I will think about Bible college. Well, that Thursday I was around a friend of mine's house. Her name was Lisa, and I was helping her out with maths GCSE. I said I was good at maths, that's why I wanted to be an architect. I was helping her get ready for her exams. And that Thursday night, I was looking on her bedroom wall. There was loads of cards that she'd had from friends because she'd recently been baptised, and loads of her mates and family and friends had got her congratulations cards, you know, and they were pinned up all over the wall. Anyway, the one that was up on the wall from Chrissy, who was then my girlfriend and she's now my wife, the one from Chrissy had this Matthew 5 passage in there once more. And I hadn't spoken to anyone about it, not even Chrissy. I hadn't told Chrissy about this Bible verse and what God was doing, tripping me up again and again with it. I just kept it between me and God. But the verse that Chrissy had chosen for Lisa that was up on that wall was this one from Matthew 5 again. Third time in a row in a week that God had done that with me. And I just said to God quietly in that moment, okay, God, I will explore, I will look out for Bible colleges and I will check out the youth work courses that are available, and I'll at least look into it, okay? I will find out if you want me to be a youth worker and we'll see what happens. Well, that Sunday night, if that's not enough, to add insult to injury, God tripped me up a fourth time in the week with this Bible verse, because on the Sunday evening, my youth leader led a Bible study and it was all about Matthew 5 and this particular verse. So, I don't know, maybe God's got a sense of humour, but I'd asked him to trip me up with that Bible verse, and he did it again and again and again in the space of a week. And I believe that was because he was really determined to make it clear to me, to speak to me, to tell me to go to Bible college and become a youth worker. And that's why I'm a youth worker today, ultimately. I would not be here unless he had done that. If God is real, in what ways would you expect him to speak to us? And would it prove his existence to everyone?
It's Barney.
Careful that cord there.
Brian is a 1990 graduate of Northern, and he's going to tell us a little bit about this amazing structure.
Well, it's, as you can see, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's about 12,000 blocks. It took over 2 weekends to build, and I'm really excited because next week the Guinness Book of World Records team are going to come to evaluate it, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Hello? Oh. Jeez, Brian, I don't know what to say.